Another instruction is from tomorrow's speaker for the evening session. Honorable Dr. Pandri Pandey sir is an ex-VC, that is Vice Chancellor of our university, and is an eminent speaker. So he has mentioned that we conduct a question and answer session if you have any regarding the futuristic role of AI in teachers' abilities and improving capabilities. Right. So these two sessions are going to be very interactive. And for today evening also, you have a fantastic speaker. So I hope you all enjoy these sessions. And let us see what maximum we can extract out of them. I'll be repeating the same instruction in Marathi, maybe in Hindi as well, right? So those who do not understand Marathi or Hindi, please do not worry. I am going to repeat the same instruction now. आजचे जे स्पीकर आहेत, आपले जितके पार्टिसिपेंट्स आहेत ना, त्यांच्यासाठी काही इन्स्ट्रक्शन्स होते त्यांच्याकडून. तर जे आताचे जे स्पीकर आहेत ते एक ऍक्टिव्हिटी कंडक्ट करणार आहेत. मी तुमच्यासाठी आहे ना एक तर ग्रुपमध्ये लिंक टाकेल, जर का सरांनी माझ्यासोबत शेअर केली अलॉंग विथ द इन्स्ट्रक्शन्स, किंवा ते स्वतः तुम्हाला चॅटबॉक्स मध्ये लिंक देतील. तर ती व्यवस्थित फॉलो करा. चॅटबॉक्स खूप क्लटर्ड करू नका, म्हणजे नाही ते ती लिंक हरवून जाते मग, है ना. सो अँड इट्स गुड दॅट वी आर नियर द कल्मिनेशन. आपण बस आता संपतच आलाय सगळं. उद्या तुमची टेस्ट होईल अँड यू विल बी फ्री देन. ओके. अजून एक इन्स्ट्रक्शन असं होतं की सरांनी जी ऍक्टिव्हिटी सांगितली ती तुम्ही व्यवस्थितशीर कंडक्ट करा आणि सर रँक करतील त्या हिशोबाने तुम्हाला, है ना. दुसरं म्हणजे उद्या संध्याकाळी आपली व्हॅलिडिक्टरी आहे उद्या संध्याकाळी आपल्याकडे. आणि ऑनरेबल व्हाईस चान्सलर पांढरी पांडे सर तो व्हॅलिडिक्टरी कंडक्ट करणार आहेत. ठीक आहे. तर त्यांनी काय सांगितलंय, 3 ते 4:30 त्यांचं सेशन आहे. 4:30च्या पुढे आपण व्हॅलिडिक्टरी घेऊयात. तर 3 ते 4:30 मध्ये इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ क्वेश्चन अँड आन्सर सेशन अँड अ हायली इंटरॅक्टिव्ह सेशन. आता सर खूप एमिनेंट आहेत, म्हणजे ते मला पण त्यांच्यासोबत थोडं इंटरॅक्ट करायला खरं सांगायचं तर भीतीच वाटते, पण लेट अस रिस्पेक्ट व्हॉट एव्हर ही हॅज आस्क्ड अस. आपण काय करूयात, त्यांनी सांगितलंय थोडं इंटरॅक्टिव्ह ठेवा. वन साइडेड बोलायला थोडंसं त्यांना अवघड जातं. तर let us see if you can prepare some questions on the sessions that you all have attended. If you have any questions, be prepared. आणि सगळ्यांनी एक एक क्वेश्चन विचारलं, शांततेत ऐकलं, तरी मला असं वाटतं की we will be able to get through the session. For tomorrow I am saying this. आजचं पण is going to be a question and answer session आणि त्याच्यात ऍक्टिव्हिटी कंडक्ट होईल. I hope I am making it clear.
एग्जाम उद्या होईल का?
हाँ, अभी हिंदी में मैं बता देती हूँ. आई थिंक देयर इज अ पार्टिसिपेंट जो शायद हिंदी बहुत अच्छी बोलते हैं, मैंने सुना है उन्हें हिंदी बोलते हुए. तो उनके लिए सर को समझ में आ ही गया होगा इंग्लिश में, बट बीइंग अ कोऑर्डिनेटर मेरा काम है तीनों लैंग्वेजेस में बता देना, है ना. आज का जो एक सेशन है उसमें एक्टिविटी होगी, मोस्ट प्रोबेबली कल सुबह के में भी होगी, लेकिन सिंस आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर नाउ, मैं आपको कल का इंस्ट्रक्शन कल ही दूंगी. आज के दोनों भी सेशंस आपके बहुत अच्छे और बहुत इंटरेक्टिव हैं. सो प्लीज पे अटेंशन. आज सुबह तो एक एक्टिविटी होगी जिसके लिए एक लिंक भेजी जाएगी. वो शायद इस पे डिवाइड करेंगे, आपको ग्रुप्स में डिवाइड करके वो एक्टिविटी लेंगे. तो प्लीज मेक श्योर कि आप वो एक्टिविटी अटेंड करें, है ना. उसकी लिंक शेयर कर दी जाएगी, या तो मेरे एंड से या तो सर करेंगे चैट बॉक्स में. ठीक है. अगर मेरे पास आती है तो मैं ग्रुप में शेयर करती हूँ, नहीं तो अगर वैसे नहीं आती है तो मैं आपको सर चैट बॉक्स में शेयर करवा देंगे. ठीक है. और हाँ जी. और कल जो है वैलिडिक्टरी फंक्शन होगा, तो कल के लिए भी अगर आपके कोई क्वेश्चंस होंगे इन सेशंस को लेके, तो प्लीज आप वो करवा दीजिए. और गौरव और मैं एक्सटेंसिवली काम कर रहे हैं कि कल ही आप लोग फ्री हो जाएं. कल अगर आपकी एग्जाम होती है तो गौरव सर विल टेल यू, बिकॉज ही इज द सोल हैंडलर ऑफ दिस ग्रुप. आई होप यू ऑल नो दिस बाय नाउ, है ना. तो हम कल की कोशिश तो कर रहे हैं हम दोनों भी मिलके. लेट अस सी व्हाट हैपेंस. ठीक है. आई विश यू ऑल हैप्पी लर्निंग. और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कुछ अच्छा सीख रहे होंगे आप, है ना. बीच बीच में मैं भी अटेंड करती ही हूँ कोर्सेस, and let us see what best can be done. Okay.
Madam, what is the timing of the test? Hello.
अभी वो सब गौरव सर आपको बताएंगे. मैंने आपको प्रिलिमिनरी इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया है. अभी जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका टेस्ट हो कल.
ओके मैडम.
जरूरी नहीं. अभी हम वी आर वर्किंग ऑन इट, क्योंकि ये जो है ना, ये HRDC के इंस्ट्रक्शंस होते हैं सर. वी कैन नॉट फॉरगो देम. हम छोड़ नहीं सकते उनको, है ना. ठीक है.
Okay,
Let
thank
us
you
see.
so much, ma'am, for guiding us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Good morning, Golhar sir.
Good morning, madam.
Golhar sir, are you able to hear me? Hello?
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, we'll get started with the session with your permission.
Yes, of course, ma'am.
Yes, I'll request the allotted participant to please go through and read read our speaker's profile for today. And thereafter, sir will conduct the session. Okay, sir, welcome to the session, and thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Good morning, everyone. On the behalf of Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Marathwada University, UGC Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. First of all, I, Dr. Anil Nimkar, roll number 31, warmly welcome Dr. Golhar sir. Regarding your profile, Dr. Devidas Golhar sir is an economics graduate from University of Mumbai and has done his MBA from KJ Somaiya Institute of Management, Mumbai. Further, he has a doctorate in the area of Industry Institute Partnership. Sir has 23 years of academic experience. During his 23 years of academic careers, he has served at Mumbai University Department of Management, Siehgad Institute, MMTTC Pune, and Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. Furthermore, he is a visiting scholar at Eberhard Karls Tübingen University, Germany. Dr. Golhar sir is actively involved in teaching, training, industry consultancy, and has undertaken several MDPs for various corporate houses, Maharashtra Police, CWPRS, and Ministry of Youth Affairs, Governments of India. Dr. Golhar sir is a professor in management faculty and is currently serving as a director, innovations, incubations, and linkages at Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Pune. Recently, the Department of Higher and Technical Education, Government of Maharashtra, has appointed Dr. Golhar sir as a member of the National Education Policy Task Force to study the implementations of NEP 2020. His area of interest included corporate social responsibilities and social entrepreneurship. After learning the profile, I request Dr. Golhar sir to begin your enlightening lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nimkar. It was so nice of you to read the entire thing. It at times is boring to read, but it's a protocol. Good morning, participants.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I logged in a little earlier, so I also got the review of yesterday's session. In a way, it was good for me to have some understanding what has happened yesterday, so that I can also focus on certain things and maybe omit certain things. Today, as Nimkar sir rightly pointed out, that long time back in 98, 97, I did my PhD in industry collaborations when I was in Mumbai. And then the areas of collaboration, why collaborations are not happening, what are the ways in which collaborations can be made, that was put then. I mean, it's almost now more than 15 years, 15 odd years, and things have changed a lot. But today, what I'm going to discuss with you, and I say discuss on purpose because we have to be interactive, because 3 hours a session and that too in online mode, don't give each other an impression that we are talking to a wall. Let's have it more interactive. People who could possibly switch on their videos should do that. In case of the bandwidth issues, they can make a choice. This interactive session for 3 hours. One, initially we have a discussion. Second, we will have a small exercise as well. I'm very sure Dr. Ma'am might have briefed you. I have already shared the PDF. This is a one-pager which will reach you very soon, or might have reached you on your WhatsApp group. We will divide ourselves into breakout rooms, and then we have some exercises maybe in the last leg of the session. But before that, since this is a leadership program, and academicians as a leader, that notion itself is very appealing because invariably, whether we have to look leadership in a very unconventional way here. First of all, when things, I'm talking about very long time back during the Michigan State University studies, whether leaders are born or leaders are made. And there still is a kind of a dichotomy and a fight over this particular aspect that leaders are necessarily born because they're born with the innate traits. And some people still believe that leaders can be made, certain traits can be identified, and those traits can be inculcated through various kind of conditioning programs. And I think this is one of it. We have time and again we have proved that leaders can be made, leadership can be taught, leadership can be taught through an experiential learning, through a dialogue. And UGC perhaps thought it right that there is a need for leadership kind of traits in every academician, because invariably there is one attribute of leader that is true across whichever area the leadership is into. That one attribute is like role model, like conducting yourself in a way that inspires people. If you take that one attribute, we are being constantly like observed, policed, monitored by thousands of people, eyeballs, and they take us as a kind of a role model. And that's the way, perhaps the way we conduct ourselves becomes a kind of an influencing thing for them in days to come. Because I still remember looking back into my school days and my college days, that quite a good number of teachers I can effortlessly recollect and recollect for each one of their attribute. And one of the seriously taken attribute in terms of my shaping of my behavior towards generally life is that how were they conducting themselves, how they were carrying themselves, how they were more approachable. I think these are some of the very important aspects of leadership. And academicians, invariably, whichever discipline you are, whichever faculty you are, we all need to have this particular attribute that only differs a good teacher from a not so good teacher. And I am very sure, considering this aspect, UGC might have thought that let's start those programs. So today, it's quite a long time. I just got to know that tomorrow is the valedictory. So in a way, it's despite, because making teachers sit for all through is a daunting task. And that too in the era of yesterday you had an AI session, or likewise, it has become a little more difficult. We always have this complaint for youngsters, right? That youngsters their attention spans have decreased. They are unable to consistently think on single line. But when we look at our own attention spans also, it's getting affected with the advent of technology, with the advent of AI and all of those things. So I think it is also good practical as an exercise that to sit on the other side and listen to somebody and try to make sense out of it. So it becomes like truly an experiential learning how the students feels on the other side when we teach. That makes also an understanding that how do we need to deliver our sessions, how do we need to conduct our sessions. So what we'll do in this another 2-3 hours is that one, I'm going to speak about briefly about the why aspect of it. Yeah, usually that's my way of looking at taking the sessions. I first try to address the why aspect, then the what aspect, and the how aspect. This is how I divide my entire session into. So why is like, since I'm talking more about industry collaborations, I'm talking more about future skills. So why is it that required all of a sudden? And it's there for a long time, but now in the last 1 year or so, things have been disrupted a lot. So why is it that we need those kind of skill set to be inculcated? Not just for the students. We are not talking just students over here. Of course, students are the end kind of users in terms of whatever they do we hear. But as a faculty member, as a teacher, as an individual, I need to change my way of thinking, or why I need to upgrade on certain things in irrespective of whatever domain I am into. So that why we will try to address, and it is a very generic discussion, but I think it's very much as a discussion we need to have. We need to question those things. Not that through the discussion we are going to discover some rocket science things, but this is just a more of a reflection onto what we do and why, how we are doing it, and why we do it differently. So that why aspect we will try to address first, and the aspects which forces us to think about why we need to change. The second is what we need to change or what we need to bring in. And particularly, we will try to narrow it down to the collaboration aspect, because they say that this era from here onwards is no more competition. It is more of collaboration. So how do we build up those, what collaborations are required? And the last leg of it, how do we actually build those collaborations? And at that part, we'll have a small exercise as well. So this is the entire the flow of the session. And to begin with, as I said, the why aspect of it, we will have some triggering questions, or pointers we can call it. These are just to ponder upon and have a reflection of what things have changed and what are the causes of it and how we need to look at things differently. That basically lays the ground for what we need to do. So can we start?
Yes, sir.
One person said yes, it's fine.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah. I hope it's visible, and I'll just put
Yes, sir, visible.
presentation mode.
Yes, it is visible, sir.
Yeah, and there are no specific ground rules as such for my session. Any person, any participant at any point in time can raise their hand, can differ, can be critical, can add on to what they have to say to the point that we are making. So it's completely open. Even though we might have question answer toward the end of it, but don't keep your queries or your curiosities to the end of it. Mention it there and there itself. That actually makes it more easier in terms of taking the session further. So to begin with, we have this presentation. Is it in slide presentation mode? Yeah, it has come up. Okay, as I said, I have a few questions to put it across, questions to food for thought kind of a thing. And this some of the questions which are put across to you are, okay. Yeah. Okay, visible?
Yes,
Hello?
it is visible, sir.
Somebody has scratched some red pen onto it. Yeah. These are some of the pondering questions that we need to try and address. We all know Kasturanjan Committee came up with National New Education Policy Report. But before Kasturanjan Committee, there was one committee that was constituted, goes by the name Subramanian Committee, and most of you might be aware about it. And this Subramanian Committee was slated to find the lacunae or constraints in the current education system. And what are the possible hindrances that actually makes it difficult for the education institute or student to get aligned with the requirement of the labor market. Since I'm economics, I'm using this to labor market includes a class 4 to executive level, all of it. So Subramanian Committee did a extensive study of across all disciplines, and they came across certain findings. And those findings are again not rocket science findings, but one of the findings that they came across was, which was there for a very long time, because our education system was influenced more from the British education. The Britishers in their own country, they moved very much ahead of time. But we stuck onto the education system that they have brought in, particularly the higher education. So one aspect that they found it was we still judge our youth by way of exams. And that has somehow not been a true reflection of learning. So it's completely like a simple example he has also put across during one of his discussions. He says that a student who has scored 9 point or something as a CGPA, today we talk about CGPA in percentile, somebody who scored 90 and above. If you ask the same student to take the exam maybe 6 months later, the person may not be able to even score 50 or 60. So that's the kind of what is collateral damage this existing exam system has made it onto the youth. It has more become number centric and less of learner centric. So this one aspect has, even today, even though we have tried to bring in CBCS, or we have also tried to now start bringing in some of the aspects from national education policy provisions, but still it will take some time for a learner and the learning to understand that how we need to move from this paper pencil to more of a learning centric approach. Because why is it influenced so much? The education institute are not to be blamed alone for this. There is also a labor market to be blamed for this. Because even if you look today, for example, any recruitment that happens, be it corporate or be it government, they mention certain percentile into it. Like if a company comes on a campus placement, they have this process of elimination, and they put across as a condition that whoever has scored 80 and above and has no backlog is only eligible to apply. So the market forces also have in a way added to the exam being reinforced or the numbers being reinforced. I still remember things have changed a lot, but we'll come to that as well. So that one aspect has actually in a way limited our understanding for certain faculties, subjects, and likewise. Further, the other observation that they have come across with, we operate in silos. That means we are so discipline specific that we don't allow one discipline to collide with another discipline, and that we have created those watertight verticals. And this vertical itself has become a big hindrances. I can share an example with to the very recent example. One of my batchmate who had done his BSc physics, MSc physics, and he wanted to pursue a PhD in behavioral sciences. Now he had a very strange proposition to make. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this fellow friend of mine did his MSc from MSc physics, and he had a very strong, very hypothetical proposition he wanted to make, and he wanted to check whether there is a relation between quantum mechanics and behavioral sciences. Now this itself is a very new aspect to discover, right? And then he wanted to do a PhD on this with this particular theme, and obviously he went to management sciences, and this case is about Mumbai University long time back. And then management sciences rejected that particular thing because they had an obvious reason to put across that you don't have MBA, and so you cannot pursue a PhD in management because you are from MSc physics. So he tried to convey to them that the area that I want to research is more to do with behavioral sciences and management, but still he couldn't succeed. So obviously he went to his own domain, that is physics. And he there also very humbly he was rejected, stating that we don't have a provision to guide you under behavioral sciences. If you want to do in quantum mechanics, yes, you can, but you cannot do it in behavioral sciences. So the poor chap, over a period of time, he went to one of the universities in Europe abroad, and he did his PhD, and that he is now leading one of the very big banking industry, ING in Netherlands. Meaning to say that one potential candidate trying to explore something very new, our university lost it. The country lost it. And this is just one example which is very much known to me. Likewise, there could be several examples. Even today, if you look at it, we have made so much of watertight compartment, or we have closed ourselves. There's so much of rigidity. Like, for example, I come from economics management. In management, we have at least 3 or 6, 4, 5 disciplines. So we don't allow even people to go beyond, like if somebody has done MBA finance and wanted to pursue a PhD in maybe behavioral science, he or she is not allowed to. I mean, some of this kind of rigidity is not going to result into any productive kind of discoveries or any productive kind of propositions. And history is witness to this particular fact. If you go across, if you try to scan across most of the universities, they are very high on, innovation. Their ecosystem not only has this mechanism, but they promote interdisciplinary, they promote multidisciplinary. And if this multidisciplinary aspect is to be brought, then Subramanian Committee suggested very strongly to the Kasturanjan Committee that this needs to be dismantled. We need to bring in mechanisms where people can, a person from physics can do economics, a person from in economics can also do some of the aspects of technology or IT. So that kind of mixing of the domains is required, and that will obviously reduce the aspects of paper, pencil, or exam, and it will be more learner-centric. So that one aspect which we need to constantly keep in back of the mind when we are discussing the further aspects. The second thing, and which is very important, since we are also discussing about future skills, I think it's very difficult now to predict what kind of skills, and we'll come to that as well. But there are 2-3 skills which will remain relevant irrespective of whichever era that we live in as a human being. And that is problem solving, critical thinking, and teamwork, collaboration. That's what I'm saying. By the way, how do you understand critical thinking? Because we've been using this term extensively recently. I mean, not recently, from a very long time. But how do you interpret critical thinking? If somebody asks in a layman's language, how do you explain what critical thinking is? Anybody? Any participant can opine. And I'll make bring in this kind of interventions just to ensure that I'm not talking to wall. So any participant, and this is our forum. We may not be necessarily right in terms of dictionary interpretation. It's completely, we don't want this dictionary definition of whatever that we discussed. We want to make sure that what is that the first impression that comes down to me when I say critical thinking. Any participant? Or should I be asking names? Am I audible?
Will you please repeat the question?
Okay, sure. I said we are discussing from very long time. We need to, and even our NEP tries to propagate or promote that we should enhance the critical thinking. So what exactly critical thinking means to you? What is that first impression of critical thinking? What is a critical thinking?
Brainstorming.
Brainstorming. Okay.
Problem
Brainstorming.
solving skills, sir. Given situation, how that student would deal with that problem by critical thinking.
Okay.
Like studying the pros and cons, what are the opportunities he's having, what are the difficulties he has to face in that particular situation. After doing detailed analysis and then taking decisions.
Okay. So a rational way of probing the things, whatever that we do, right?
Yes, sir.
There is one of the resource person at some point in time, long time back, we were in discussion, and you might have heard about it for sure. He had a very unique way of addressing critical thinking. What he said is that whatever that you're doing or whatever that you are about to do, can you question yourself with 5 whys? I repeat, can you question yourself with 5 whys? If you have to make a decision or you're about to make a decision that should I go for leadership program or should I go for this particular domain or can I mean, even into your own personal life as well. So it needs to go through 5 whys. Let's say very simply put, like why I have to, I have to enroll for this leadership program. Why? There would be some answer, right? So some might say that maybe I need to enhance my leadership skills. Okay, that's first wise answer. Now the second why is again to that. Why you think that you need to enhance your leadership skills? So the answer might be that because I deal with so many students and then I need to have certain skill sets for trades. Then there's other why you think that when dealing with students, the leadership skills are required. Right? So likewise, you take that particular aspect through 5 whys, 5 levels of whys. And in doing so, you as a person, you start thinking critically in the sense you start probing yourself. You don't go with the obvious answers. You don't go with the set assumptions or preconceived notion. It's not because my friend has enrolled or maybe somebody said that it is required for teachers. Leadership skill is required for teachers and that's the reason I have enrolled. But instead of just simply going by the preconceived notion or a set norms, what you're doing is you're probing your mind and trying to get the deeper aspect of it, that why is it that you're doing it? And this entire process, this exercise itself is, I would say, that process of critical thinking. And if that is there with individuals, just imagine for a second that let's say, for example, the entire world is worried about fake news. The entire world is worried about fake narratives. If there is critical thinking, I don't think that the fake narratives or fake news can make a business or can make a the proportion out of what they are planning to do. So our students, like today, if I read a newspaper and I read an editorial article, I make the editorial opinion as my opinion. Tomorrow I read something else which is countering that. I again get influenced and make their opinion as my own opinion. Where do I stand as an individual? What is my take on it? How do I have to approach it from a different perspective? Or can I just happen to get influenced with somebody's thought process and make that thought process my own thought process? And that is, and if you ask me, there are various domains all across this world with people working, but the most important domain for which the critical thinking is the necessary thing is teaching fraternity for teachers. If teachers are loaded with critical thinking as a kind of an approach, I'm very sure they are bound to disseminate it to the student. So it's not just teaching critical skill, it is practicing it. So does our education system today allows us to actually go through this exercise of critical thinking? Most of it is our education, for instance, the way we have got educated. Most of it is like, I mean, somebody has told us we have to listen and we have to simply learn it or maybe mug up and put it into the exam. So there's no critical thinking. And in fact, some of the teachers are so adamant to the extent that they used to give notes. And if you have to answer those questions in the examination, it has to be from the notes itself. It can't be from your own way. So there's I mean, I still remember during school days, there were some teachers who expected it has to be in this way only, in this sentence, in this words itself. You cannot use your own thought process. So how do we expect that students would actually, and critical thinking comes from curiosity. It's a very basic, what do you say, trait of any, that's what distinguishes humans from other species or other animals. So that is missing completely. So what most of the thinkers today who even try to advocate AI and likewise, they're saying that this problem solving, critical thinking and collaboration are going to be the most important factor irrespective of whichever domain that you're going to work in days to come. So how our exam, even though some of our universities and institutions, we have brought in the credit-based, choice-based systems, and we also have tried to reshape or restructure our question papers by putting in the component of probing questions and likewise. But again, it is exam-centric. So just, I mean, imagine, even our understanding of whether the student has learned critical thinking is again through way of some end-term exam. So that this entire process is again hampering learning to a larger extent. Third aspect, and which is the most critical aspect, I believe that the realization of it has happened more so after pandemic. You know, there are people from outside Maharashtra as well. And it's a statistical empirical fact, so no hiding of it. Maharashtra stands first in many aspects in the country, but unfortunately it stands first in one of the aspects which we shouldn't be, and that's the number of suicides. The highest number of suicides happen in Maharashtra. And in the recent times, if you scan in the last 4 or 5 years time, and particularly during pandemic and after pandemic, the number of suicide from the working professionals who are already in service is on rise. Earlier, farmer suicide was a very regular thing, and it is still continuing. But the proportion of suicides from the working professional is on rise, and the proportion of suicides from the student community is on rise. I mean, if you can recollect during the pandemic days, you invariably will wake up with at least one news in the newspaper where a student has committed suicide for some other reason. For us, most of the adults, though, those reasons appear to be very silly, like some student didn't have access to mobile phone and committed a suicide, or was not allowed to was committed. So this fragility, how do we actually, irrespective, we are focusing so much on skills, and skills, I'm talking about domain skills, but are we focusing on the life skills, the basic life skills? I mean, in addition to critical thinking, that's how to be resilient, how to live with the complexities in life. How do we actually cope up with the ambiguities in life, the sudden ups and downs in life? because come what may, and most of you into your 40s, 50s, or maybe late 30s, we all have always tried to embrace certainty. And that's the reason we always long for government jobs, which gives us certainty, gives us surety of being employed all through the life. But is it happening now? I mean, I don't think there's a negative growth in all the government jobs. It's completely a negative growth. I mean, they're just not being stagnant. It's negative. People who are retiring, their positions also not being filled. So today the certainty is to the extent that I started my profession as into teaching training, and I'm very sure I'll retire with this in this profession. I can work over a period of 25, 30 years minimum. But today, the student that we are talking to, the youth that we're talking to at home, at colleges, institutions, it's guaranteed that they will start with A and end with Z. They cannot continue in one single domain because it's impossible for them to continue one single domain. At that extent, there are going to be disruptions happening. So the uncertainty, ambiguity, complexities, these are going to be the very much an ingredient of their life. So are we really, as an educational institute or as a teacher, facilitator, preparing them, conditioning them to such kind of situations in days to come? Or are they so fragile that a little ups and downs pushes them to the extreme decisions like suicide? And suicide is just a kind of a tangible convergence of somebody's state of mind. But there are many people today who are extremely depressed. And there is one profession that is extremely on rise. And this profession is, after pandemic, is the profession of counselor. And it's no more a taboo going and visiting counselors for your state of mind. Just hold on. So that this itself explains that there are quite a good number of people today who are actually undergoing some kind of low depression and likewise. So physical state of mind, mental state of mind is very important. Otherwise, what's the point actually be preparing the youth, the workforce for tomorrow, but their state of mind is very fragile and they are so much prone or at risk of any kind of ups and downs in life. So that's not a very healthy sign for the population of the country. So in this context, how do we actually, and this is Subramanian Committee emphasizes this very specifically, that how educational institute can actually address this aspect. And perhaps if you have to think on those lines, this is where perhaps the leadership aspect also comes into picture. That how do we inculcate this? Are there any mechanisms by which we can actually condition our youth and their mind? Because happiness at the end of it is the most important thing. And this is always a curious thing for most of us, that why is it that a country like Bhutan, which is very low on all the economic indicators, is way ahead than us in terms of the happiness index? What is that they do differently? Because that's what matters at the end of it. It's not just the accumulation of things. There is very interestingly, people who are from economics will be able to agree on this statement that there's a difference between economic growth and economic development. And India is very aggressively progressing on the economic growth. If you look at your foreign exchange reserves, it's like at 600 billion or something. If you look at our stock exchange indexes, they're skyrocketing. All of this is not transcending into development. But if you look at our state of education, health, sanitation, livelihood, there is no significant improvement that has happened the way the growth is actually happening. So this divide actually might create a social unrest in days to come. I mean, to that extent, people are being warning. And it's not just about India as a country. There are many countries like India which have this particular divide. So are we in a position to inculcate or build the minds which shows resilience in times which are most difficult in life for them to come? And believe me, these are the formative years during the college days, and the shaping of the mind in terms of how we approach the situation is very much dominant in terms of the learning conditioning at this point in time, and that remains with them in the subconscious throughout the life. And the last aspect, which is very difficult and challenging, that I was talking to some people the other day, and one of the participants that put across this question, sir, it's okay. We should prepare our students for the jobs of tomorrow. But how do we know what are the jobs of tomorrow? It starts from there. If we are not sure about what jobs are going to emerge tomorrow, how do we prepare our students for those jobs? It's just like completely a kind of a just trying to guess. But there are some reports, there are some empirical studies which tries to give a broader understanding of what the job market would be in days to come, and more so if this, because the prediction goes right, I think our interventions will also go right. So who would have thought, for example, that there would be a job that would come, and it's just 6 months back, nobody would have thought a job called prompter would come into existence. Prompting, just simply, we all use all the AI tools, and those AI tools requires prompting, and the prompting has become suddenly a kind of a great skill set. Santosh Kokil, participant Santosh Kokil, you are making lot many marks on the slide. Participant Santosh Kokil. Yeah. So nobody would have thought about this, but this job of prompting is now in demand almost by every possible corporate world. It is, and they are recruiting people which are absolutely have nothing to do with the faculty that they come from. They are from humanities, they are from social sciences, they are from engineering. So the skill of prompting has all of a sudden rise, and that is in demand, and they're highly paid. So likewise, there is a possibility of not many jobs would emerge in days to come. Any participant has to add anything to this? So Subramanian Committee's report, which remain the base of what education system that we are following today, and as a part of national education policy, and there are many such instances and observations that they have put in. I've just shared one or two. I'm sharing the mental state. I'm sharing the verticals, that's multidisciplinary approach, and the change from exam to learner centric, and there are many of this nature. But has any participant want to make a comment on this, or should we go ahead? Okay, if there are no statement, I'll go ahead. There are a few more aspects which actually is, we are still into the phase of why we have to think differently, why we have to do things differently. We are just trying to look at the possible causes of it and how they're going to disrupt. So there are furthermore disruptions which are happening, and we will have a look at that as well. How many of you think that our labor market or labor demography is changing? And when I say labor demography, it means I just spoke one example of like certain jobs are emerging. The way in which people were recruited, the recruitment process are undergoing change. The criteria for recruitment are undergoing change. The pay structures and the pattern of work are undergoing a change. And all of this, has it made any impact onto our existing education system? And I'm asking participants if they're attentive, they would be able to share their thoughts. I'm saying all of those patterns of work today, is it affecting the education system? The way in which we are delivering the curriculum, and the way in which we are practicing the entire degrees, is it getting affected?
Yes.
I was told that this group is very, very vocal. It's very interactive. Please let.
It's changing.
Yeah. I'll share one example how the labor market, just one example, and people can share their own experiences as well. I remember there is this one company, and we are all aware about it, Larsen and Toubro in Mumbai. And Larsen and Toubro used to go for campus placements to most of the IITs, IIMs, and they used to also come to institutions like us, like I did from Somaya, JB, and likewise some grading institution. They used to come for campus placement. You know, once I walked into the Larsen & Toubro corporate office in Mumbai, there was this, in a waiting room, there was this coffee table book. And the coffee table book, I was glancing through, and one of the page mentioned that we are the company which is the most preferred company in all of those grade A institutions. Most preferred company by the students to join. So that means there is something called placement week, and placement week usually companies fight to get the first day first slot, because if you get the first day first slot, you get the best of the best students, and that's the reason they always fight for the first day first half. And Larsen & Toubro consistently was getting the first day first slot, which Larsen & Toubro took that as their credibility and they put that into their coffee table book. Look at the situation. I'm talking about like late 90s and early 2000. Today, if you scan, if you fast forward it, today Larsen & Toubro doesn't even go for campus placement. What has changed? I mean, a company which used to boost going for campus and getting first day first slot is not even going for campus placements. So what has changed? There is something to be thought about. The concept of placement week has also undergone a change. Even the pursuit of the student for certain companies have undergone a change. All of those companies used to be the most like the blue-eyed companies where people used to like wanting to get into. And those companies all of a sudden are deserted. Not many people, bright minds, are wanting to go into this. They want to try different things. They want to go for services or maybe something of their own, maybe in the form of startups or likewise. So I think this is one example of how labor demography is changing. There are many aspects of this nature. Like for example, today, most of the SMEs, which is like started dominating the labor market across, because SMEs are operating geographically all through. So SMEs of late are not necessarily wanting to have a student with a degree. Forget about percentage. How many marks the person has scored. I mean, that is irrespective. Our Pune has one of the biggest SMEs geography in Pipri Chinchwad in India. That's so huge. And if I go across and talk to people, they said that we are not necessarily wanting to have a degree. We have identified for our job, these are the skill sets required. And if some students have it, we are not bothered whether the student is a dropout or whether the student has a back or whether the student has scored less or whether the student is not even an engineer. We don't actually go for it. We simply look at the skill set, recruit that person. Now look at this aspect. I mean, this is impossible happening some 15, 20 years back, but it has started happening. And today, most of the big companies, they're still going with this set norms of graduation from this with this percentage, because it takes time for a bigger organization to change their policies of recruitment, because bigger is the size, difficult it is to change. But even they have started with certain content, started changing or started relaxing or check. The entire priorities in terms of the parameters have reshuffled. So this aspects which are, is it going to affect the education institution? Is it going to affect the learning behavior or the learning patterns of an individual or the way we disseminate this? This is a big question. I am not getting into the details of other aspects like international relations and likewise. I mean, very recently, they like you might have heard from many speakers, TCS has announced layoffs for 12,000 people. What could be the possible reason? Is it because of AI? Or is it because of certain changes in the international market? Because most of their businesses also come from abroad. And then if Trump is trying to put across reciprocal tariffs, yesterday also he made an announcement of 25% tariff. So all of this has led to industries functioning differently. AI, of course, is going to affect, because most of the mundane jobs, entry-level jobs, perhaps would be taken by AI. But irrespective of that, the international market, the supply chain on this delivery side is also changing a lot. And that is true for most of the manufacturing and other services industries also. And it is going to be more true because certain changes in the international regime in terms of certain presidential regime, then it affects the entire world if it is we are dependent on that particular country for our exports. Because I remember when we opened our economy, we all know what is LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. Till that point in time, most of our industries were safeguarded. because we used to have a huge import tariff on goods that come to India, and that's how we used to protect the Indian manufacturing base. And that's where perhaps we all are aware about how Indian manufacturing base was completely taking the Indian customers for right. They're taking customers for granted. And we used to wait for simply for Bajaj scooter. We used to have a waiting period for 6 months to 1 year. Simple telephone line waiting period of 6 months to 1 year. And all of a sudden, when the globalization, I mean, the for companies from abroad, they started putting their operations, the tariffs were reduced. We started actually experiencing a level playing field. The efficiencies and the operational efficiency of the Indian companies started getting revised, or they're getting enhanced. So similarly, today, with the international disruptions in the form of tariffs of import and export, because the dependency is on rise, the operational efficiencies will be on rise. And as a part of operational efficiencies, I think there are layoffs. So it's not just about AI. And likewise, manufacturing is also doing the same thing. So if that is happening, and on the other hand, we are producing, I mean, just an example to take forward, there are the maximum number of graduates today, the graduates are from computer science discipline or computer engineering discipline. And if there are layoffs happening, how do we actually address this dichotomy? On the other hand, Infosys is wanting to recruit people, and they are of the opinion that we are not getting the quality skilled manpower which are required in the current contemporary skill set. So this particular gap of what is required, what is not there, and hence and the international market corrections, this all is adding to educational institutes' role. How are we going to function into this particular aspect? What methodologies, curriculum, what collaborations we need, because standalone institution going with whatever they feel is right, with little what we say consultancy or little kind of advisors from industry is not going to work. Believe me, we will. Most of the professors they would think that, but there is large number of population who are still dependent, and even though we may not be very much in line with the industry requirement, but we'll still have admissions, but no longer. Because I can give you in numbers that, for example, in commerce field in Pune, and Pune is one of 2-3 best of the best colleges if I have to refer to, few years back or just 3 years back, for just 600 intake, BMCC, MMCC kind of colleges used to get 10,000 plus applications. Today, this year, they are barely getting the same number of applications. So where are those students going? I mean, this is a kind of study to be taken on white paper for that reason. I mean, it's not just guessing. It requires an empirical study actually. Why are students shying away from getting into those degrees? You see the same thing happening with the professional colleges as well. I mean, pharmacies, architect, engineering, there are more number of seats vacant than the pursuits. So what has happened to those students? Our students started getting into the realization that education has not much to do with the employability or livelihood. Because in India, come what may, we don't get into education only for the sake of knowledge. We get it for the sake of livelihood, because we see a relation between what we do, what we study, and what we are going to do as a kind of a livelihood. And if that is not happening, then perhaps students will start looking for alternatives. Most of the students, I mean, at least the primary observation happens in Pune, and most of your places would be, I think, that students have started going for open schooling, and in their regular time, they want to do something different, maybe accumulate those skill sets which are required for the labor market. So if that shift is happening, that means they are questioning that they are not seeing the relevance in the delivery or the curriculum or the mechanism in which we are actually doing our distribution of degrees and diplomas and postgraduate courses. So this aspect of what we call the impact or the influence of the external world onto the institution, and institution may acknowledge or not acknowledge, has a lot to do with the student enrolling and not enrolling. I think the answers are over there. Yesterday, I just heard in the morning that you had the blended classroom discussion, experiential learning. But let me tell you, experiential learning is going to be the most important factor in days to come. And to give you, I'll also subsequently discuss with it, even who would have thought institutions like UGC and AICT will roll out a program called an Apprenticeship Embedded Degree Program, ADP. Because those are the two institutions which were very much against this particular program. Apprenticeship always used to happen after the completion of the degree, but now it is embedded into the degree. Now, nobody would have thought about this, but they have officially come across with this notification that Education Institute can start this particular program. That itself is an alarming kind of a call. It's like a knee-jerk reaction to the market conditions, I believe. And I'll talk about ADP a little later, but experiential learning will become the core of it. More the experiential learning component in the curriculum, more there is a possibility that there will be students who would find some meaningful thing to learn. The other major thing that has gone disrupting, and it is happening from the last almost 1 or 2 decades, but in the last 4 or 5 years, it is very much on rise, the concept of finishing schools. Because when the corporates get that feeling that whatever the graduates that are there in the regular education institute, those graduates are not sufficient in terms of their skill set for them to bring onto the job. So they recruit them and they put them under rigorous training. And that adds to the training cost and also the gestation period, and it comes at a cost. So instead of doing so in recruiting, graduates, they started recruiting people who are at UG level, undergraduate, who are just finished 12th. And they are putting them into a rigorous training of 6 months to 1 year, which is required for them and at their own premises. And these are the people who are taking up those jobs of those skill sets. So instead of going for a regular recruitment of engineering graduates or maybe commerce, science, or whatever graduate, they have now started training the people and taking them fresh and putting them onto the job. And that concept is called finishes. You have initially started with IT and IT-enabled companies. Now it has come to manufacturing as well. Mahindra and Mahindra in Pune has a huge finishing school where they're recruiting people from the 12th class itself. And we don't need people because if they hire people from ITI or Polytechnic or diploma or engineering, again they need a training of another 1 year. So why unnecessarily take them at a high price and put them under training? Instead, take people at a very young age, put them, because they come at less cost, put them under training. Their learning capabilities are also very high and their expectations are also rationalized and they are on the job. So now imagine manufacturing, services, all of this, if they start their own intervention in terms of starting the finishing school, what would happen to the regular conventional formal education institutions? And this is again one of the reasons we have to actually collaborate, because industries are wanting to come forward. I can give you the very recent example in Pune is that BVG, you might have heard about, is one of the biggest and highly successful service service company. It offers services to not just in corporates in India. Now they have even gone to Europe and US as well. It's a great success story. They need people. They need people to operate under various domains. So instead of relying on the graduates, they started their own training programs. So what we did is we have tied up with them. Now BVG and Pune University is running an ADP program from this year, wherein for a 3-year program, 1.5 year they'll be at the campus, and in the campus also BVG is establishing a lab free of cost for us, and rest for 1.5 year in the campus, 1.5 year at the site. They'll be put into various slides, right from aviation to hospitals to hotels to government offices to corporate, everywhere. And these people will be employable before they finish their particular graduation. And during this 1.5 year of apprenticeship, 1.5 year at college, 1.5 year at the BVG. This 1.5 year at BVG, students will not be asked to give any exams. The apprenticeship itself will become the evaluation criteria for that. So those kind of collaborations which industries are also wanting to come forth, because they would also like to offload some of their training costs to the institution. So it's a win-win situation for institution and corporate, and it's more so for students. We have heard about entrepreneurship a lot, but social entrepreneurship is on rise in the last decade. And social entrepreneurship is, in a way, how it is different. You can find it yourself by some Google or read some examples. But social entrepreneurship is a little different in one way, because it tries to address some social issue and then make a business out of it. So business comes later, addressing the social issue is first, and thereby making a business out of it. And in a regular kind of thing, the profit and business comes first, and later it comes other aspects. So social entrepreneurship necessarily tries to address the social issues. It could be right from livelihood to it could be alternate energy to it could be farm related aspect, it could be health and others, it could be education, and then lot of social entrepreneurs who want rise. So this aspect, which is not consciously taken into the higher education, but of late, yeah, maybe some of the institutions, they have actually started the social innovation labs as well, because this is an answer to most of the growing unemployment and unemployable youth. Because even though we have best of the best students produced by an institute, we are not sure that they would be able to get the jobs. Because just an example, I'm putting it to you. Pune alone, Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad, just an example, because Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad are highly industrious places in the country. I mean, I don't see there many as good industries as many Pune or Pimpri-Chinchwad has. So both put together, this is based on the NASSCOM and CII survey, they are not able to produce more than 5,000 jobs, both the towns put together in all the sectors I'm talking about. Whereas in Pune and Pimpri-Chinchwad alone, putting all the graduates together, there are not less than 1 lakh students who actually graduate every year. Now, just look at the situation. You have 1 lakh graduates and you have maximum 5 or 1,000 kind of jobs in the park. So what will the other students do? And this is where perhaps the intervention of entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship very precisely comes into picture. So what an education institute is doing in this aspect, what intervention possibly can be done, that also discussed in days to come. Contemporary skills and industry 4.0 is in specific alignment. That also we'll just talk briefly, because how industry 4.0 can be aligned with education 4.0. Because if I have to really reciprocate the requirement of the industry 4.0 skill set, what changes I need to bring in, and perhaps what ecosystem I need to create within the educational institute that reciprocates industry 4.0. And that's the reason one of the slide I purposely put as education 4.0. That will also be discussed. So this, I believe, I mean, this is not an exclusive list, but we are still in the phase of why. There could be many other aspects which are disrupting the current market conditions, and hence the educational institute, and hence the students' pursuit of higher education. So this may be in days to come, if we don't address other formal education institution, it would be addressed automatically by the market conditions or the market itself. And this would be one of the biggest loss for educational institute, to bring the students back to the campuses if we continue with our conventional practices. Anybody has anything to add to this? Am I heard? Not listening?
Excuse me, sir. Can you please more elaborate what is meant by the 4.0?
4.0,
Previous
these are the phases of,
yeah.
These are the phases of industrial evolution. The more, I mean, we are now into more of automation and augmentation. That's why we call now, people are started talking of 5.0. This is just an incremental growth of how industries operate. So 4.0 is more dependent on automation today. Earlier it was more on IT, now it's more on automation. So if there are a lot of automation that is happening in the industry, manufacturing as services, are we really taking those skill sets that are required for automation, or the skill set which are going to get absolute because of automation? What changes we are bringing into our education system, because of the changes in the industrial operations. So 4.0 is a level which the industry 1.0, 2.0, 4.0, like it's an incremental kind of progress that they have made into their operations to bring in more efficiency.
It means that it is the smart technologies used.
Of course, all the technology.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay, somebody at least asked. Now I'm coming to again, the why aspect, and more so, I didn't speak because yesterday you had a perhaps discussion on artificial intelligence, but still, I want to put it to you that why we should be more worried about it. And the one major reason why we should be worried about it is this particular thing. Now, if you compare the proliferation of all of those disruptions or technology-based interventions that happen in the form of right from Google Translator to Uber to Telegram, these are some of the highly used kind of apps, social media as well as other utility apps. And we have done a random, comparison in terms of how fast they have spread. So if you look at, for example, Uber, which is the most utility-based app, to spread it to 10 crore population, that is 100 million population, it took almost 70 months for Uber. That means almost close to 6 years. The most popular amongst youth is like Instagram. Even Instagram, to reach a population of 10,000, the number, it took almost 2.5 years. Now look at OpenAI. ChatGPT is one of the example. For ChatGPT to reach a population of 10,000, it just took 2 months. So that's the level of proliferation this technology OpenAI has. And that's the reason we should be actually worried about. Worried in the sense we should be more prepared about. Now, yesterday, I'm sure you might have had the discussion, like, for example, initially when OpenAI, ChatGPT, and there are many kind of tools of this nature today, how academicians are receiving these particular tools. How are they actually receiving first, using this secondly? How are they seeing this particular tool? In your regular lectures or into your entire teaching learning processes, how are we using OpenAI tools? And how are students using it? And if students are using it, what is the outcome of that uses that they are doing? Because we just spoke about a little while ago critical thinking, right? And critical thinking is about probing deep dive into probing, and that's where perhaps we master the art of reasoning, we master the art of questioning and trying to be more rational. So that particular exercise is this population getting lethargic on this particular exercise because of the ready answers through ChatGPT, Gemini, and Netflix, and all of those kind of things? Is it happening that way? Or is it also making us lethargic? Because otherwise, most of us as an academician, we read, we reason out, we perhaps logically try to give a outcome to it. So that entire exercise but with ChatGPT, things have become easier. And are we really like stopped being critical, stop being analytical, and straightway jump into the solutions? And that way, that might affect our entire thought process related to critical thinking, problem solving, or being reasoning, or logical thinking. Is it going to affect? I hope people have understood what I'm asking, right? And most of you are certainly using ChatGPT, right? So do you think use of ready-made platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, likewise, is affecting our process of critical thinking, logical thinking, reasoning? Is it affecting, or is it, because instead of telling what is happening with the student, let's talk about ourselves first.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is affecting.
So how as an individual, I may not have the same answer as what other person says, but how I'm going to actually address this aspect? Because on one hand, we are trying to, in a way, it's like a hypocrisy. On one hand, we are trying to make students go critical thinking, imbibe those skill sets, which I said, which are going to be universal skill sets in days to come. How much ever OpenAI progresses, these skills are going to be very critical, and perhaps those skills will differentiate humans from machines, right? So students, what they do is but as a teacher, as a faculty facilitator, what is my stand on this? How am I going to actually keep my thought process which makes me distinct from machine intact, and how I'm further next to that, how I'm going to propagate it to the students. Now, this is a very important question, because we are just going with the flow. I still remember when most of us during our earlier days, you might have used the OHP, right? The slides we used to write with the hands and then put it on the projector and then put it on the slide, right? And then came PowerPoint, right? And PowerPoint got so many features. So initially, do you remember how PowerPoint was used, misused? Right?
Yes, sir. For
And
using the PowerPoint, they just focused on the pictures and whatever the returns, but their writing ability or thinking ability is avoidable, sir. I think so.
correct.
Yeah.
So simply people used to paste the entire literature on the slide and read it in the classroom. So the moment, I mean, there came days where PowerPoint was thought to be like it is abused, not just misused. And the moment, I mean, any teacher puts the PowerPoint onto the classroom, a student used to have this kind of a shy belief that now nothing is going to happen. The person is simply going to read. Not everybody did it, but most of the teachers did that, and that got very unpopular over a period of time. So there was a time when institution had to take an approach that no teacher will use PowerPoint unless you have to show a picture, no literature on the PowerPoint. So we had to bring in that kind of containment for the discipline, for that kind of integrity. How do we actually bring that containment in ChatGPT now? How do we bring that control mechanism wherein people don't abuse it? I hope you understood the question, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
I hope you understood the question. So how do we bring that containment into this? Or you may also prefer to answer that, sir, it's impossible to bring in the containment because it's extremely difficult. For a PPT, we could do so till people got into line of using it judiciously. So, and history is witness to this part. Any technology that comes in, it is massively used, misused, abused, and then slowly the population graduates to the right use of it. So it rationalizes in terms of its utility. So how many days ChatGPT will take to do that? Or is it already happened in some of your cases? How, as a teacher, you intervene the access to OpenAI for yourself and for the student? And having understood that you cannot contain it, how do you still ensure that you would still imbibe for yourself and for the student the aspect of critical thinking, reasoning, and logical thinking? How do you do that? I know it's a very weighted question, but how one does it? Have you started practicing? There's no answer to this, no clear answer to this. I understand, but in my own capacity, what am I doing? That's what we are here to hear. We are not here to have a kind of a very ChatGPT answers. Here we need an answer which comes from within, which comes with critical thinking. Right? If I put a ChatGPT this question, this prompt that how do I ensure that critical thinking is propagated or is promoted in the era of OpenAI, where everything is available? ChatGPT give me answer to that as well. But I don't want those answers. I'm saying, I mean, it's kind of a great dichotomy. Then even for that we are going to ChatGPT. As a teacher, as an individual, how do I keep my skill set intact, irrespective of those ready OpenAI tools? That means, in a way, the way we spoke about PPT, how do we now do it with the ChatGPT or OpenAI? Or is it on a different levels altogether? It's impossible. At least say something. I think I have to think that this group is very interactive. That's what I was told. No? Is there anybody who is not using ChatGPT at all?
Using sir ChatGPT, we are
Not using
sometime
ChatGPT.
partially we use ChatGPT. Partially, sir, not sure.
Okay.
But I think, sir, for using the ChatGPT, it is simple for explanation of the complex concept to the weaker student. I think so. And to get the ideas to explain his student, to prepare the flashcard, or to show the visual explanation, and so on. So I think it is a positive perspective also for using the AI, and some negative also, because uh, both are there. Because कहते हैं ना, सिक्के के दो पहलू होते हैं, तो पॉजिटिव भी है और नेगेटिव भी है. तो यहाँ पे आपने जैसे पहले कहा था कि बच्चों में थिंकिंग और क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, क्रिएटिविटी, जहाँ हम 4C एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के मुताबिक 4C की बात कर रहे हैं, तो वो चीज़ें वहाँ पे बच्चों में डेवलप नहीं हो रही है चैट जीपीटी की वजह से. क्रिएटिविटी जो है सर उनकी, वो रुक गई है. दे गेट आइडिया फ्रॉम दैट और मेक्स सेम एज वट एवर यू से फ्रॉम AI. There is a need of the teacher to develop the creativity thinking, to get instruct the student to get idea and develop their own. That's my suggestions from to the teachers. It's my, whatever you have asked the question, little bit I had tried to give the answer of that, sir.
I'm glad actually, at least you opined yourself. That's more important for me. What is the opinion is secondary, but there is an opinion for it. I remember once, I mean, my son is in 12th standard, that we entered into a discussion on this aspect once. And then he was of the opinion that you cannot contain it. So it is just that it is going to be used, it's going to be misused, abused. And there will be a period, there will be a time when, because it's our creation, it's not that even though we say machines, it's our creation. So we are bound to use it. This is how human evolution happens. Whatever technology, discovery, innovation that we actually, invention that we come across with, it's for us to use. Use, misuse, and abuse is a very subjective term. That's what his take on it. It's just an 18-year-old kid. This is how you think, and in some of the classes also I try to reason it out. They may shy away by having that notion that I might sound bad by if I say that we are going to use it and it's there for use. But as a son, perhaps he had no qualms in putting it to a father, that he said that it is bound to happen, irrespective of whoever says that they are not going to use it for the sake of not being lethargic. Lethargy will not come. Lethargy will come in certain aspect, but there will be a situation where the open AI would be able to actually take care of it. And this is where humans perhaps start thinking on that level of thought process. So that will emerge. This is how the evolution will keep on happening. What appears to be fiction yesterday will be a fact today. And this is the evolvement. And there would be there would be a time we are not sure where it will lead to, but we cannot contain it. Very interestingly, I would recommend a book to every one of you as a teacher. There is a book called Coming Wave. It is written by Mustafa. Mustafa was a co-founder to OpenAI. OpenAI is the mother of all of this, what is happening today, because it was completely a kind of, open source, and a lot of invention that actually happened in OpenAI, and then OpenAI led to this kind of revolutionary, disruption in the form of access to every information and interpretation of it. So he mentions in his book, The Coming Wave, that there is a need to contain. And he also mentioned that how challenging it will be to contain. So there will be a necessity to have interventions from policy, as well as from, he mentions Education Institute a lot actually, because this is where he mentioned that Education Institute do a job of mitigation, and the management of it will be done by the government and the policymakers. So it's very interestingly put. And some of the disruption that he put across is mind-boggling, because you may not even think about it. One of the things that he had mentioned in one of his interview, that OpenAI is widely used in synthetic biology. Am I audible? I hope so. So OpenAI is widely used in synthetic biology, and he puts it. I tried to find more to this, but I was not able to. But he mentioned in this interview that any person today alive and will stay alive for another 5 years will have an option to stay alive for another 300 years. I mean, to that extent, synthetic biology is evolving with the help of OpenAI. This appears to be fiction actually, and they will be alive more or less. They'll age, but they'll age in a larger proportion. I mean, in the sense that what I'll age in 1 year, they'll age in another 10 years. So likewise, the period of aging would be prolonged considerably. That's how the age of a person, I mean, the lifespan of a person can be increased to 300, and tomorrow, maybe 3 years, 4 years later, they may say 500 also. I mean, this is one. The second is there is already a synthetic biology and a pharmacy clinical firm with the help of AI. They have started an experiment, and I'm told that there are some people who volunteered for it. The experiment is something like this, wherein an individual can volunteer to get into a coma state, wherein all his vital organs will be preserved, and this person will have a choice to wake up after 100 years. Now, this appears again a fiction, right? But I still remember during my school days, I'm talking about 88, 89, one of our sports teachers just made a passing statement because one of our student had applied for a telephone line, and it had already passed 6 months and there was no communication, there was no confirmation when the telephone will reach. And then he made a passing statement कि एक वक्त आ जाएगा where you don't need telephones to connect to people and you can talk to any person in the world. And we laughed at that particular idea. But just 15, 20 years down the line, 15 years, why 15? I mean, I think 88, 90, just 10 years down the line, decade down the line, that happened. And today that's the reality. So what synthetic biology, the firm which is actually experimenting, where an individual can get into, because if I feel that this phase of this particular world is something which I'm not liking, I'm more curious about what would happen after 100 years. So let me do a kind of a time travel to 100 years. So I get into a coma state and then I woke up after 100 years. I mean, this is like any science fiction movie, but it is happening. People are already volunteer for it. And about this, people living for 500 years is again appears to be like a myth or fiction, but that might also happen. So it's not just about the industries, how they're getting affected with AI. It is also the lifestyle. The human race in terms of its living and in terms of its involvement is getting affected. And this has have a terrible effect onto the patterns in which we are pursuing everything, right? From education to employment, everything. I mean, it's a little far a kind of a thing, but it's still there, right? So that's the reason the proliferation, the fast pace of its reach, OpenAI, that's actually is more worrying because we are not prepared for it. We still are internalizing it and it has reached to masses. So it's like a knee-jerk reaction that we'll have in days to come. But gradually, I mean, that's my take, gradually, we'll reach to a phase where there will be rationalization that will prevail and people would be more put to a use which is not possible by OpenAI. And that kind of skill set perhaps will be more in demand. What skill set? Nobody is very sure about. Even the founder of OpenAI is not sure about it, but that will evolve over a period of time. Talking about now certain skill sets which I was coming to. Now we are coming to the what aspect of it. Like we spoke about why things are disrupted, what are the reasons for it. Then now following, what are the areas in which this would be affected, and in real sense, what kind of jobs or labor market would evolve in days to come. Now this data is not my data, this is the World Bank data. World Bank has put across certain predictions, and this prediction is global prediction, of course. So India might have certain chronological, what do you say, ups and differences over here, but more or less, if you look at it, the top 5 order jobs, which is not a great rocket science. We all are talking about data science today, and data science is affecting all the possible processes and procedures of every business that we call it manufacturing services, the most perhaps. So services which we also fall into today as an educational institute. So how data scientist is going to be the most, and it's not necessarily the engineering graduates or the BSc graduates who are doing data science. That's not to do anything with this. Like our university has already started a BSc data science program from this year, again under apprenticeship AEDP program, and wherein we haven't kept any of the condition like a person necessarily have to be a science graduate with physics or with mathematics. We are even admitting commerce graduates and art graduates on this. So this is not any specific domain which goes only to engineering. And when I'm talking of jobs, we need to try to relate to that. So people who have done perhaps humanities, who have done social sciences, who have done languages, art, science, commerce, whichever it is, I think there is a requirement of data specialist in every domain. We have to find that particular niche. So this, as a teacher now, I mean, that's my way of looking at it. If I'm economics domain professor, I need to look at the ways in which how it is affecting the domain in which it operates. And for teaching as a profession, how do I need to actually bring in that data science into my teaching? So it's like I am going little into this economics plus what. So how do I, so data is basically a facilitation tool which enhances your ability to deliver properly or deliver efficient, whatever it is, right? So another one, because there is a huge vacuum in finance, and that's where financial inclusion is still spoken about. So fintech, because over a period of time, money would flow, certainty aspect in terms of maybe insurance, investment will be very much on high, securities will be on high, and in that aspect, this particular domain or this particular job will be on rise. AI, ML, again, I repeat, this has nothing to do with engineering graduates only. This has to do with every possible graduate. It is just a facilitation tool. Your domain remains what it is. This has to be applied to the domain that you are into. That's the major difference, except for aspects like data warehousing and electric vehicle, which are specific domain. But the first 3, 4, if you look at it, those are the facilitation tools. So in an educational institute, I mean, are we like somebody is teaching economics or is learn economics? Are we really bringing data science into economics? Are we really bringing data science into geography? Are we bringing data science into history? I'm talking about most conventional fields. Are we bringing data science into languages? And if not, is there a time, wake up time for us to bring it formally into our curriculum and disseminate it? And if we are not equipped to do that, are there any firms, data science firms, which would help us? So I have the domain, you have the facilitation domain. We collaborate and we do something in this particular curriculum, which is meant for humanities or which is meant for BSc and likewise. So this area, I believe, is going to be more, it's going to stay at least for another 10, 15 years. And considering the youth today who are looking into the job market, I think these are the areas they have to, and they don't have to necessarily go for, I repeat again, that they don't necessarily go for engineering. They have to remain in their own domain, but look at the possibility that how this other aspect can be still taken up, can be learned and then used into our own domain, right? Similarly, World Bank has also predicted some of the jobs which are going to be extremely on decline. And again, no great surprises over here. Again, this is a global data. Indian data would little up and down. Certain parts would be little above, certain would be not in this entire chronology. But yes, this is again the areas that we are still focusing on. Most of us are focusing. When I say their aspect of postal service clerk is different. I mean, it's simply clerical level kind of jobs. Our postal service has stopped recruiting people from a long time back. Bank, you remember most of you, us who were into when 2000, when IT came in, and the result of it was like banking industry, for example, started getting automated. The manual things, which the cash entry registers and everything was manual. all of a sudden the cashier, the teller, everybody, they store desktop installed onto their PC, and they were completely fizzled with this entire thing, that how we believe or trust this machine, everything would be there and everything would be. So there were massive training programs that happened in banking. The largest amount of sum that was invested into banking for training was during the IT automation of banks. And the largest number of VRS that happened in any industry, in any of this following decades, happened in bank. During when the computerization started happening in banks, maximum number of VRS happened in banks, because people somehow were unable to cope up with that shift from manual to technology, and they put down their papers. So similarly, with the AI now, they say that with machine learning, lot many consolidation can be done, which takes almost like 3 or 4 days perhaps for a huge data. It can do it in hours perhaps with the machine learning. And yesterday we had a meeting with the president of the ICAI, at a charter accountant of Pune chapter. And he was of the opinion, sir, most of the CA firms now have started adopting machine learning, and the interns which we used to hire in numbers, most of the jobs is done by the machine. I mean, now what do we do with the interns? And now we have to find different profile for the interns, which is far over and above in terms of taking the second level of learning. So the regular, that kind of jobs are completely gone. Data entry clerks, not just only the data entry clerks in the conventional institution, but also in engineering. So today Indian Express has come across with a very nice article. If you have access, please read that. It is speaking about in the recent time that TCS did with 12,000 layoffs. It's speaking for and against that what would happen in days to come in most of the IT and manufacturing industries. It's a very interesting article which mentions that most of the entry-level jobs of coding, which India had an upper hand because India was known for having cheap labor available. And this is where so many engineering colleges came, the education institute started reciprocating the requirement, and companies like all of those 4 or 5 companies, they started recruiting people in numbers like 3,000, 5,000 and all of this. Even civil engineers and mechanical engineers, they also got into Infosys and TCS like companies, irrespective of the domain. All of those jobs, they were hired at that point in time. Those jobs would be completely gone for machine learning. So the massive recruitment trend is gone. I mean, I don't think that there would be any massive recruitment happening henceforth in any of the IT firm, IT or ITS firm, also in the manufacturing as well. So the data entry, because those people were taken more for like little glorified coding and data entry, which is the basic level, which was easily, cheaply available for many firms, which was very expensive abroad. And that made our IT-enabled services world renowned only for the reason that we are available at a very reasonable price. So AI has taken away that advantage. On top of it, a person like Trump is trying to introduce tariffs, as well as H1B visa is also like on hold. That has made all the IT-enabled service go into panic now. So this jobs would also be on reduction. So I'm really curious and trying to now understand that how would this engineering colleges which have like
41,000 दाखवायला
Santosh Kokil,
नाही हो जसं यांना
Santosh
घालतो ना
Kokil,
सरला हॉस्पिटल कॅशबॅक
organizers, can you please mute Santosh Kokil because he is also disrupting the screen, and also, or you can, if you have mechanism to please send him out. So all of this disruption in the form of international market and the operations at AI, I think this engineering colleges which have massive intake of thousands of computer engineers, what is going to happen with them unless there is a change in the curriculum, there is an apprenticeship kind of mechanism that is evolved with the help of IT companies, then only perhaps there is a survival. Otherwise, you see in the another 2-3 years, there's a massive number of unemployable youth, engineers, computer engineers, more so, which would be doing any kind of jobs, because there won't be jobs available in the conventional firms. And this is what most of the IT specialists also say so. Coming to the next aspect, I'm going to just put it across to you that which are the industries, learning skills. I'm not spending much time into this because we spoke broadly about it. Automation, how that is happening by by 2030, if you see, most of it would be taken over by the combination aspect and the technology. But more interesting is this aspect. What are the industries which would highly go for automation, and some of them will go for augmentation? Anybody, can you differentiate between what automation and augmentation is? Augment and automation?
Automation means utilizing computers,
Okay.
and augmentation means reality. I'm not sure. Augmented reality, like, not sure.
Not really close, but not that way. What is augment from the perspective of industries operations? It's very simple. As I said in the beginning, we don't need dictionary answers to this.
Augmentation means requirement.
Okay. Augmentation. See, it's simply put, automation is like completely, in a way, automating certain operation which will not require any human intervention. It can be completely left to the automation aspect. So we get an output without human intervention into it. Augmentation is a combination of both. So that's where, if you look at to your left corner, medical and health. So medical cannot be completely automated. They need to be, even though they say that there is now robots which does knee replacement, which also conduct some kind of robotics surgeries on various organs, but it's not completely automated. It requires human intervention. So a combination of human intervention with automation is what we call as augmentation broadly. So if you look at those areas, again, it's a World Bank report. If you look at agriculture and all that, it completely cannot. They require an augmentation into it. They require a human intervention into it. But surprisingly, what World Bank has predicted, that education and training is going to be, I mean, it's not completely on the automation side, but it is there considerably on the automation side. And on augmentation also, it is on the lesser side. So what does it interpret? I mean, does it interpret that in days to come, there will be self-learning, will be very much on rise without much of a human intervention? Or does it interpret that teaching as a skill will get absolute and facilitation as a skill will be replaced by teaching? I repeat the question again. Or the very basic question is, how do you differentiate between teaching and facilitation? I repeat the question again. How? Anybody can, I mean, speak their mind. It's not necessarily you have to be correct again. How do you differentiate? Is there a difference between teaching and facilitation? No? There is no difference, or there is a difference? I'm really not sure people are listening. That's the collateral damage of having an online session. Dr. Ramani, Professor Harish Sharma, Dr. Sunil Nimbore, Professor Bhavna Kadam. Is anybody listening?
Sir, presentation presentation we make use of technology, but in teaching we may not use technology.
No, I'm talking facilitation, not presentation. The difference between teaching and facilitation. Is there a difference?
Facilitation.
Right. Or is it that teaching and facilitation is same?
No, sir. Teaching and facilitation both are different. In facilitation, we facilitate our students.
Right.
We try to solve their problems. We try to we behave. We act like a mentor in facilitation.
Right. So I remember one example. One experience. When I was in TIS, I was asked to teach one evening program. And this evening program was about diploma in management. And when I thought that since I'm new, I'm initially given that particular class, evening class, which is not so important for a new person. So let the new person get into it. Even though he makes mistakes, it's a evening program. It's not a mainstream program. But and I think I was just 4 years into academics and not very old. And when I entered the class, I saw like the class of 30 it was, and I saw each and every one elder to me by age, by experience, everything. And then all of a sudden, I was into a thought process, what do I teach these people? Because whatever that is there in the form of concepts and everything, they're practicing it, they're living it. So what do I teach them? And this is where I mean, to cut it short, I started actually learning the process of facilitation. It is like, in a very simple term, it's not a dictionary definition of it. It's like joining the dots. You have to actually promote, motivate people to opine. And through their opinion, you have to channelize those opinion into some kind of constructive thought process. And again, on that thought process, you seek furthermore opinion. So you actually encourage people to get into a discussion mode, speak their mind. Again, the aspect of critical and creative thinking, and then build upon that. And through that, there is a learning. So the facilitation is more to do with how do you actually make it very simple. How to make somebody speak? How do you actually cash on whatever that is spoken and again channelize into a different direction and make somebody else opine about it. So this particular skill set is very, very difficult to actually acquire or pick, because teaching is far more easier than facilitation. That's what I realized over there. So over a period of time, what I felt is, and what I'm feeling right now is, the skill of facilitation will be on rise. So any teacher which actually also on this particular skill, you might see that there are more students than the students who are wanting to actually have some reciprocation and learning would actually enjoy more of a facilitation as a classroom orientation than teaching simply, which is going to be a monologue kind of thing. Of course, facilitation is the necessity of facilitation to begin with is in person actually has a more reciprocation than online. This is what I'm struggling over here. People, if they're not listening, if they're not attentive, the facilitation will never happen. So in person in a classroom, how do you create a space for everybody where people feel completely fearless to speak what their mind says, and there are no judgments in the classroom? So creating that environment of being open and no holding of any kind of, no prejudice, no holding of any opinion, no judgments in the classroom. Creating that kind of work environment, the teaching or the classroom environment is the most important ingredient for facilitation. So how do we actually, because it's extremely difficult, people opine. It's not that easy, as we are experiencing here as well, because people asking questions, people opining, it is like being discouraged long time back, right from our school days. And today, all of a sudden, somebody says that you don't have questions. So the habit of asking questions is dead long time back. So in that context, it is very important to make the student feel completely secure and comfortable to have an opinion. That skill set is going to be highly in demand in days to come, I would say. And rest of the industries that you could see over here, those industries are more or less, it's which industry like telecommunication, insurance, and all of this are going to get completely automated. Now, for example, insurance, you don't need any human intervention to buy a policy, even to put a claim, even to have any discussion. There are plots, there everything that those have come, and this are helping people without any human intervention. So likewise, there are quite a good number of industries which are going to go automated, and these industries will have less conventional recruitment in days to come. Whereas which are augmented in nature, they'll have considerable conventional recruitment still happening, right? So this is one, and the next is this is about industries which are going to get more automated, which are going to get augmented, and the next is the skill sets. what skill sets will be highly in demand in days to come? What are going to be the emerging skills and what are going to be the core skills in days to come, irrespective of the domain? And the skills which are going to be little out of focus or which are going to be on decline. And there are skills which will remain steady at this point, but may differ in days to come. So you have 4 quadrants if you see over here, and all of those with different colors, you see that those skill sets are mapped into those 4 quadrants. The skill sets include the domain skills as well as people skills. So that's where you see the cognitive, engagement, ethics, management, physical abilities, and likewise. So if you look at the highest right-hand side corner quadrant, which is core skills in 2030, again, you see that there's a lot of reflection of what the earlier slide in the global data had about AI, technology, critical thinking, creative thinking, leadership, analytical. This will remain, as we said in the beginning, that this will remain relevant. So relevant in across all of the domains and across the time. So this, but if you look at the other side of it, the emerging skills which are on rise, which will have a lot of potential in days to come, is about on towards sustainability, then there's the environment, then there's the networking, and the skills which are slowly, as we saw that there are some jobs which are on decline. So if you look at those jobs and put it to this quadrant, they very well match. So in here as well, out of focus skills, teaching they have put, and this is World Bank data. We can agree to disagree on this as per the country's orientation, but teaching and mentoring is into a kind of, it's not completely into a very declining stage, but it's almost on the verge of the central quadrant, wherein they say that this skill sets will be out of focus. And this is where we are talking about facilitation skills in days to come. I think we will take a small 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes break over here. If not for you, it's required for me. And further to that, I hope you have received one exercise, which is action plan exercise. Have you received it on your WhatsApp? This also people are not seeing this and no. Hello? Hello?
नहीं सर नहीं मिली.
Yes, sir.
Have you received the exercise, action plan exercise from Madam, Embal Madam?
Just me check it.
Yes sir. मिली सर मिली.
On the group, it is posted if I'm not wrong. Right?
Yes sir.
Right. So now this is actually the testing time, wherein after the break, maybe we'll have some 10 minutes of discussion, and then followed with that, I'm going to create breakout sessions, breakout rooms, wherein randomly with the machine, you will be put into different groups. And what is required is in the group, there will be separate groups, and the group will have to put their thoughts together in trying to develop an action plan which speaks about more of collaborations. I repeat once again, after the break, we will get into small groups through breakout sessions. You all have received a sheet, action plan sheet, wherein there are questions. For your convenience, I'll display that sheet if you want. I hope you see the sheet here, right? Action plan canvas sheet.
Not
Right.
yet sir.
Right. So
Yes.
this will be there for all the groups. In groups, you'll have to discuss, and you'll have to come with some actionable plan, actual actionable plan amongst a group of 4 or 5. You can take one institution as an example, or maybe you can take any of the institution which you feel is easy for you to discuss, and taking that institution into consideration. Let's say, for example, somebody is from one of the college in Sambhajinagar, and then that college you'll have to develop an action plan canvas of collaboration for that particular college. And in doing so, these are some of the aspects that you will have to actually answer. Answer in the sense you have to think about and put it on paper, right? And then you'll be given 15 minutes time. And in the after the 15 minutes, we'll again come out of the small groups, and then the group will present their thoughts to the other, participants as to how they have developed a plan. This is an exercise necessarily which will take us to some of the very important parameters and ingredients when it comes to developing collaborations, right? So we will take a break of 5-10 minutes, and we'll come back again, then have a discussion. If somebody has any query, we will address that query, and then we'll break into the breakout sessions. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So we will take a pause over here, and then we'll get into a discussion after 10 minutes. Now it's 12:45. We'll come back at 12:55. I think we will start. So I had shared with you, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, thank you so much. I had shared with you, I had an action plan, canvas, which would be required for an exercise. So what we'll do is what broadly it means, and I will simply put it to you again. What broadly it means is that what are the most important ingredients which are required for making a collaboration within the industry, and for whatever reasons it could be. So in that context, I thought of having this question. If somebody feels that there are far more important questions which are also required to be included, even that can be taken up. But to begin with, we have this many questions over here with you, and we will, if anybody has any question onto it as to how do we answer or how do we take it, you can ask me right now before we break it into rooms.
Sir, should it in making of MOUs, faculty exchange and etc.?
Sorry. Please, I couldn't hear.
The collaboration between the two institutes, should it include the making of MOU?
Of course, you have to just point it out that what are the MOUs that you wish to plan to sign.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you don't have to necessarily, like for example, let's say there is some institution in Pune, and now one institution you have to take as an example, because you will be at least 8 or 10 people in a group. So unanimously, you'll have to decide, let's take one example, one institution, whichever institution that you represent. And then to make it, because we spoke about certain skill sets. So if you have to really inculcate those skill sets, and we also spoke about why we should actually go for collaboration, because the skill set that are required are very different in days to come for employability. So to have it skill set inculcated, we need to go into a collaboration, which alone cannot do it. So in that context, to begin with, whichever institute you are into, it could be arts, commerce, science, engineering, pharma, agro, whichever it could be. So you have to target the industry sector, which sector you want to target broadly. Then which are the possible industries, local industries that you can collaborate with in that particular vicinity. So if it is Pune, I'll certainly look around in the vicinity, the geography of Pune, right? Then what is the first thing that you'll start doing it? Because most of us, we actually end up doing guest lectures and then there and there it ends. So what are the engagement activities that you think which will remain long, which will sustain for a long time, and which will make the industry actually sign an MOU or get engaged with you? MOU is just one of the aspects. Then what would be the responsibility? Like who are the stakeholders that would be involved from the institute side? Because if it is a collaboration, institute should also have some role identification, like who will do what in this particular collaboration and what will be their role independently in this collaboration. Then one has to also speak about some timeline, some time zone. Like in first month, what do you do? In the next 2 months, what you do? So how much time will it take to actually get a complete operationalized collaboration? What event you will hold? How you will reach to other stakeholders, that includes students as well. And then what are the success factors that you would identify? Like having those maybe after 6 months is an indication of that it is going in the right line. I've given examples to that effect. So MOU, just an example. So you have to identify certain key elements, milestones, which you feel that having achieved that means that we are on the right track with the right objective and right intended objective we have on. And to do this entire thing, what support would be required from your institution, maybe from your university, maybe from the local bodies over there, maybe government, whichever. When I say government, it could mean MIDCs, it could mean the organizations like this SMEs or organizations like the industrial associations like NASCOM, CII, likewise.
KAMRAN. RAN. A. Double B. AS.
Hello. So this is what, if anybody has a question related to this format sheet, please do ask right now. Okay, if there are no questions, then can we break ourselves into teams? There is no yes and no as well. Okay, I'm creating the teams. You all will be there, close to 52 participants now. And all the participants will be broken into 5 teams. Each team will be 10 members. And these teams will have random selection. I'm just giving, I'm asking the Zoom to divide them randomly. And this will go for creation. Okay. All participants are invited to join the breakout rooms. You might have got the invitation. I can personally come and see the groups now who are joined or still joining. Now room number 1, I can see 85, 87, 90 have joined. Room number 2, 28, 34 is joined. Room number 3, 24 is not joined, 36 is not joined, 37, 61, 74, 75 have not joined. Believe me, people who have not joined, there is already the HRDC representative in this thing. They are observing this. So that also reflects the engagement of each one of you. Room number 4, 20, 43, 11 have not joined. Room number 5, 32, 50 has not joined. 22, roll number 22, Santosh Kokil, not joined. Okay, people who have already joined,
सर मी एक रिस्पॉन्सिबल पर्सन आहे. मला याचे पूर्णपणे जाणीव आहे की क्रॉस कंट्री काय असते. पंडित सरचा विषय शेड्यूल सर होते का तुमच्या क्रॉस कंट्रीला? sir.